Generation Zero feels like the result of a weekend where Swedish game developers got together and watched Terminator 2 and Stranger Things on repeat. I say that because in the game, you venture through an abandoned version of Sweden that is filled with murderous robots that are trying to kill you at every turn. But before we get too far into talking about Generation Zero, it's worth talking a little bit about Avalanche Studios Group and what they've made in the past. You might recognize them from such games as Just Cause, the Mad Max open world game that came out in 2015, or maybe you've played Rage 2. One thing that all of these games have in common is that they have awesome open worlds. Avalanche Studios is pretty known for making great open world games, so Generation Zero was on a lot of folks' radar because of that reason. That being said, the game was received a little less than great. Some of the main criticisms revolve around the narrative being a little light and the game being only good for multiplayer enjoyment. Play Generation Zero with your friends or not at all. That's the biggest takeaway I had from a lot of the reviews I read, and while I understand that and I do agree with it to a point, I challenged myself to enjoy the game as a solo experience, so I kind of wanted to go through how that went. So here are the 3 things I did to enjoy Generation Zero as a solo experience. So before you even start this game, right after you make your character, just change the difficulty to adventure, because you're playing on your own and you can't rely on some other players to help you in a fight. And these robots, they gang up on you, and it's not any better if you have the difficulty set to the default setting, which is clearly made for a group of players. So just set it to adventure, swallow your pride, and if you really feel like it's boring or not fun, you can always change the difficulty later. Just trust me, I don't think you're gonna want to. At least while you're playing alone. Once you get some friends in there, sure, crank it up. So changing the difficulty actually lets you play the game the way I feel like it's meant to be played, which is to avoid combat most of the time. You're not encouraged to fight these robots head on. They're murderous military robots. I don't know about you, but if I was in that position in real life, I wouldn't be running at a robot that has guns on it. No, I'm hiding. I'm hiding as much as I can. I'm avoiding them. I'm sneaking around, taking what shots I can take, but I'm not taking them out head on. This is a world that is designed to kill the player at every turn it can. There's a lot of open spaces, very few places to hide, so you really need to be careful and avoid these robots and play it stealth, and I think you're gonna have a better time. And the reason I think you're gonna have a better time is because of my next point. When I found my first few weapon attachments in this game, it was sort of a breakout moment for me. Up until that point, I was getting really frustrated with my guns. I had this hunting rifle and a handgun, which everything's loud and the robots can hear you. But once I found some weapon attachments, things started to change. I had a long rifle scope now, so I could see real far away and plan my attack, as well as start fights from far away, which is great because the robots' guns are short range, which is, great, because if you can start a fight and kill some robots before they get to you, awesome. Alongside that, there's a silencer for the handgun, which is amazing because if you want to play stealth, you don't want things to hear you, you have a silencer. The only thing about that kind of drove me nuts is the gun was silenced, but the explosions still made noise, so it was kind of a moot point. Let's talk about the narrative, how it works, how it doesn't work, and what that might mean for you. The game starts you off with just a bunch of text to tell you the premise. You're in Sweden, it's 1989, the Swedish army has a bunch of robots, and now the robots are turning on humanity, and you don't know what's going on. That's the story's premise. It just leaves you with that, and then from there you explore abandoned houses, abandoned towns, abandoned farms, abandoned churches. Everything's abandoned in this game, all with the quest of finding where humanity went in Sweden. Where'd they go? Where's the evacuation? Is anyone still alive here? But the narrative doesn't completely leave you out to dry. It does leave breadcrumbs that lead you to the next position, such as notes or audio recordings. But I think the most powerful part of this game's narrative is the environmental narrative. That is to say, the stories you can put together based on the way the world around you is laid out. So for example, you'll be in a house, maybe there was a robot in the house that tried to kill the family, maybe it succeeded. You'll see lots of bloodstains, you'll see dead robots in the house, how that fight might have gone. This is the kind of thing that you would see in a world that was overrun by murderous robots. It was just nice to see this touch. I love environmental storytelling. I think that is some of the best storytelling you can have in a video game. The reason I like environmental storytelling so much is because it's relatable. Let's say you have a cat and the cat knocks over a plant, but you weren't home for it. You come home, you see the cat all covered in dirt, looking up at you like it did something wrong, and then you see the plant on the floor and the way it fell and all these little touches that just you can figure out what happened. Yeah, okay, the cat jumped from one thing to the other, got scared and knocked over my plant. But that's its own little story, and that's the kind of stuff you see throughout Generation Zero, except instead of a cat, it's a Terminator-style robot that just tried to kill a family. But my point remains, the environmental storytelling is pretty solid in Generation Zero. Since Generation Zero is considered a survival game, you would think, oh, there's going to be a hunger meter, or I can get sick in this game, or maybe I need to drink water often. And I'm happy to report that none of that exists. It is a survival game. You are being challenged to survive in a world that wants to kill you, but the only thing you really have to worry about is keeping your health up after a fight and keeping your ammo stocked. Everything else is just, assume like you're never hungry, never thirsty, you don't get sick, great. Besides, I don't think I would really feel happy hunting for a hot dog in a world filled with robots that want to kill me. This game is fun for people who enjoy open world exploration. The game doesn't stop you very often to tell its story. It's there if you want it, but very easy to neglect and very easy to just move past. The environments are fun to explore, and there are some ways you can enjoy it on your own if you're really careful. But if you don't want that, you can always fire up multiplayer and play with your friends. It's not nearly as solid as Just Cause or Mad Max, but I can say that this game is enjoyable and definitely has a fan base that seems to stick with it. I'd love to hear about your experiences with the game and what you do to enjoy it. Are you like 80 hours into it? How's it going? Do you like Generation Zero a lot? Please leave a comment and start that conversation. One thing about this channel that I've enjoyed a lot is the conversations that you guys start in my comments, and please keep those coming. It's a great time for me to take a chance and say hi to you and thank you for your comments. So go ahead, leave a comment. Let's talk about Generation Zero. Are you gonna play it? I have all these questions. Besides commenting, the best way to let me know I'm doing a good job is to simply subscribe to my channel. If you're new here, thank you very much for making it this far into one of my videos. I appreciate it. Hope you'll stick around for another one. Ultimately, if you liked the video and you just want to express that, you can feel free to leave a like on the video with the little thumbs up button. That works perfectly fine too. Any of these are great, none of these are great. I'm just happy you're watching my stuff. So thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. Other than that, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.